Thank you for talking with me today. Firstly, would you be able to explain what your job role is and who you work with?
Yeah, hiya Hugh. I'm Suzanne Rollinson and I'm a learning disability nurse and I work for the GHC NHS Trust in CAMS. And CAMS is the Children and Adolescent Mental Health Service. And we're a separate little team within that, looking after the children with learning disabilities. So we work with the children who attend one of the 7 Gloucestershire special schools. And my role and our team's role is to work with the children and their families and their schools. Many of the referrals are for helping the children understand and manage their emotions. Often these children are presenting with sometimes challenging behaviours as they're finding communicating their needs and their wants and dealing with their emotions quite difficult. So we try and help the schools and the families and their parents all look for the triggers of these behaviours, and then all working together we try and devise a positive behaviour support plan. So it's a behaviour plan that can go with them and everybody's doing the same as the plan. So we get referrals for that kind of work and also for diagnostic work for diagnosis of the children, support with their mental health generally, sometimes support with puberty work, helping the young children understand body changes and what happens as you're a teenager. And we get asked for help with continence, but not the usual continence if you were like when you're younger learning to be potty trained, that kind. More continence when the children use their continence or wetting themselves, as we could put it, as a behaviour. So it's about behaviours and strategies really. So we work collaboratively with all the people who are in that child's social network and educational network.
Great, that sounds like a really important role. So how is your work delivered? For example, is it in person, in schools, at home, or in other environments, or in other ways?
Like you said, Hugh, it's with all of those. So I'm usually in my car. We travel around quite a bit, even with COVID. I work with the families, so I often go and see the parents or grandparents, whoever's, and the carers, foster parents, whoever's looking after the children at their home. See the children at home. I'd see them at school. I also try and observe them wherever they are. So if they're doing they have a childminder after school or an after school club, we try and see them in all settings because we know we all behave differently in different settings, so it's about trying to get an overview. And then I spend a lot of time in schools, the special schools, observing the children and assessing their needs, and then sometimes we'll do one-to-one work with them, emotional literacy or work about how to keep safe. Sometimes the children come into clinic, very rarely really. It's usually we're at their house or we're at their school. Sometimes I do group work with a few children at school, but it's usually one-to-one work and often my work's with the family because it's giving the families the confidence and the support to be able to carry out these things. So we also do some parenting courses with the family, some work with families about keeping themselves safe. So yeah, it's a lot of work with the families to encourage them really.
That's really interesting. I think you may have partly already covered this, but when it comes to mental health support for young people with learning disabilities, what about the services that you provide is specific to children who have learning disabilities?
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to do is anything you would do with any other young person, we would do the same, but it's very much more simplified. And it's what we need to do first of all is to get to know that child and know what motivates them, what interests them, so that we can use that to work individually with them. So we don't really have a package that if they need help with understanding their emotions, we don't just get the pack out and do it. It's not always that simple. It's about individual, so you'd know what interests the child and what motivates them and put something together individual really. Yeah, so it's more simplified and individual for that one person. Sometimes we can share resources and ideas, but often it's about knowing that child and knowing what makes them understand the world.
Okay, so what are the most common mental health and wellbeing issues that young people raise with you?
It would usually be because a lot of the children we're working with have limited communication, so it would be often about understanding their emotions to start with, feeling happy, sad or angry, and even if they can't express that, us being able to teach them first of all, what those emotions might look like or what they might feel like in your body, and then how to manage them. We also do some bereavement work. Sadly, lots of the children I work with have lost a parent and grandparents, and it's about understanding that. So most of it is about understanding what we would consider quite our basic emotions, and how to cope with them, really.
Okay, so leading on from that, what would be your top tips for young people who think they might be experiencing those kind of issues?
I think the top tips would be to talk to someone, ask for help, don't feel that you're the only person that feels that way, and remember that, life as a young person and teenager is difficult for all of us and has been, but it's about asking for help and making people realise that there are people who want to help you, and there are people that will listen, really. So I think it's ask for help and talk.
That's really good advice. Finally, what would you advise people to understand and remember when treating young people and children with learning disabilities?
I think to remember first, before all these other labels of having a mental health condition or having a learning disability, remember they're a child first. Just that they are a child, and to also remember that everybody's individual, and remember that get to know somebody, get to know what interests them and what likes, treat them with respect, and remember that even if they can't tell you or can't very easily verbally communicate it, they've got aspirations and wants, and encourage them to be themselves, really. But I think remember they're a child or a young person.
Thanks, that's a really interesting outlook and some really useful advice.
Any professional or any special school can refer to the CAMS learning disability team. It's quite easy to refer, but it's any professional or any of the special schools can refer.
Thank you very much for your time.